Well, all right, what's going on, guys? My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler, and today we're taking a look at the Axial Capra 1/18th UTB. This thing is awesome, and I've actually had quite a bit of driving experience previous to this being launched, which is a cool opportunity. I was able to go out and give a little bit of feedback on this car. I'm really looking forward to this, seeing the full RTR version out of the box, and while I say that, I do mean that. It is completely RTR. These come with a battery, come with a charger, which by the way is the same charger as your SCX24. So if you've got one of those, you can charge two batteries at the same time. That's pretty cool. Just plugs right into that USB port. Real quick, we got Sydney out here with us today. That's my trail buddy out here. And we're gonna go take out this UTB-18 on the rocks. So we've got the 2S battery underneath this clipped in hood here. Look how easy that is to get to. You got this little battery, same battery as they use in the Losi Mini B buggies. So I'm gonna shut down the camera for a second and plug this in because I've only got one hand. All right, got the 650 milliamp 2S battery plugged in. Go ahead and clip our hood closed. There we go. Check this out though, we've got a sweet light bar up top, we've got ditch lights up front, and we've also got headlights. And these LEDs are pretty dang bright. They are definitely effective if you're crawling around in dim lit areas. The power switch is right back here next to your fuel cell. Great looking car. These things are cool. Now, in my experience, I am not an SCX24 fan. Personally, with the terrain that I have available, I really like the larger scale stuff like 1/10 and 1/6. But this car, while being a Mini, really crawls more like a 1/10. So it's much more similar to an SCX10 or an SCX10-3 would be, rather than an SCX24, which for my personal preferences, I like that a lot more. Let's get this thing on the rocks and see how it does. As you can see, it's brand new right out of the box. I haven't even run this one in the dirt yet. You guys are gonna see the first tracks that this car makes. So one of the first big differences that you will notice about this car versus an SCX24 is that these have oil-filled shocks. So that's a lot nicer. It really absorbs the dampening of the car and makes it not look so springy out there on the trail. Now, from my measurements, I believe these are an 80 millimeter shock length, but they do have shock limiters right out of the box. They're these little black spacers you can see on the shock shaft right there. So you would be able to remove those if you really wanted to. We're gonna experiment with those in time, but for this video, this is exactly as it came out of the box. We've got 3.85 inch tall, 1.55 wheels, the 3.85 inch tall tires is what I should say. They're the Nitto Trail Grapplers, just like that come on the 1/10 Capra, and these are the little baby guys. So something really cool that I really give a big thumbs up to for Axial doing this is that this car has standard size wheels at the 155. They're not as common as 1.9s are. However, there is a market out there available, and there's also tires out there in this size as well. So big thumbs up in my book for building a car that already has aftermarket options available. Now, speaking of aftermarket options being available, Axial did something really cool when they released this car, and that is they have aftermarket hop-up parts directly from Axial available. So you can already get brass knuckles for this thing, you can get overdrive, you can get upgraded links, you can do a lot of really cool stuff with this car as you pick up the car from Axial themselves, which is not something they commonly do. So it's really cool to see them do that on this new platform, so that you already have a route to upgrade this thing and get higher performance out there on the trail with your new UTB-18. Now, this may just be my favorite feature on this car, is that they used a full-size 1/10 scale servo. However, it is the low profile size. That's because the servo would actually interfere with the cage if it was any bigger. But I love that they went with a low profile servo, because there are crazy powerful options available on the market already. And considering that you're putting it in an even smaller car than those low profiles are normally going into, this thing would be a powerhouse with some real crazy torque in here. That's a really awesome feature, and huge thumbs up in my book for that. This has a 380 size motor, and it is a combination ESC and receiver going in this car. Now, I need to send a huge thank you to Axial for sending this car my way to create content for you guys and help share what this new car is all about. They do have two liveries. While this one is great looking at the black cage and the green highlights, they also have a gray and orange Fox suspension livery car, and I gotta say, that's probably my personal choice. I do like the Fox livery on these cars. So what do I mean by saying that this car acts more like a 1/10 scale rather than a 1/24 scale? Just the way the weight transfer moves around and the car reacts on the rocks, I can see and feel what the car wants to do. It doesn't just snap, unload, and roll over like the little 24s do. You can see here lots of tire conforming on the front end. It does push pretty bad when turning downhill and on side hills, but the important part is that these tires are soft enough to conform to the rocks and actually provide traction out there for you when you're trying to make climbs. A little bit of throttle out, running over my mic cord on the way through, but we got it done. What do you think of the new UTB-18, Sydney? It's a cute little car, isn't it? Now on that Spectrum S651 servo, it does have metal gears and it is waterproof. So this thing will take a beating out there on the trail, and it's pretty element resistant. So if you get yourself into a rainstorm or something, you don't have to worry about your car frying out. Let's chase this line around. I like running this line with my 1/10 scale cars, but this thing is just gonna hit totally different lines because it's so much smaller. So we're gonna get it leaned over, try and get that rear end set down. And then the front left's gonna try and come up an overhang. We're gonna have to take a reverse because that's just a little too aggressive for this size of tire. Nice and controlled on the wheel speed. Now I am used to a brushless system, censored brushless. That's definitely my personal preference. But for an RTR car, this thing has good crawling capabilities. I know that there are many things that the designer of this car had in mind that he really wanted to hit home, and I think he really nailed it on some of those aspects. Now some key features that Axial was really honing in on while designing this car was to make sure that the tires would conform and grab onto these rocks really well. They went through multiple iterations of tire compound and inserts to make sure that this thing really got the traction they wanted. Also, they were very particular on the spring rates and the shock oils that they used to make sure that this thing twisted up on the rocks and drove in a predictable manner, and I really think they nailed it. Like, this thing really handles well, and I really enjoy driving this on the rocks for a Mini. Again, 24th just never really did it for me, but the 18th here, I really enjoy my time with the rocks. Ooh, throttled out and got out of there. That was a pretty good one. That was a big drop. Something I haven't mentioned to this point is the Capra portal axles. They are a Curry axle on here, and you gotta love portals, especially when paired with a buggy like this. Great scale realism for that, and also added clearance. I've always enjoyed the 1/10 scale Capra axles. I've put them on multiple projects, and now we've got an option in the 1/18 market. These are a multiple piece housing though. The C-hubs on there are actually removable. Oh, we got a little lizard coming up out of the crack. The C-hubs on there are actually removable. So that means that if you were to crack one out there on the trail, you should be able to get a replacement and replace just that piece that you need, which is a pretty common breaking point on the 1/10 is you break a portal hub. And at this point, you can replace it individually. It's got metal differentials inside with also metal drive shafts, which is a great strength feature there. And then on top of that, they also have a feature, an aftermarket option, where you could rear steer this car if you wanted. However, you will need to get a different ESC and receiver with 3 channels because the RTR car does not come with 3 channels. Lots of torque there to be able to pull that front end up into that overhang like that. We've got nowhere to go on this line, but really just seeing what this car can do, what I can force it through. You can see no limitation on steering servo power, pushing the car into that full force with throttle and still had control over the steering. I love that size servo in this car. Holding these wheels onto the axles are 12mm hexes, which means that you can swap those out for any other wheel with 12mm hexes. If you want to get crazy and put great big tires on this, you're absolutely welcome to. That's what these cars are for, is to make them your own. The controller that we're running around with is a Spectrum SLT2. It's a 2-channel. It's really small. It's actually very light. Me and my friends were discussing this. This car only weighs just over 2 pounds. A great backpack rig if you were to just throw it on your backpack, you know, with a bungee cord or something, cruise up a hiking trail, and as you're hanging out having a snack or something, go ahead and throw this out on the rocks, go rip it around out on the trails. I think that'd be a great application for this. Also, this controller's so small, it's super easy to drive one-handed for me. It's just really easy to, you know, have a good time out on the rocks, out on the trail, and enjoy your time out in nature, out on the trail, out on your own adventure. Now, what are some of the upgrades that I would like to get for this car? I always like overdrive in my trail rigs. I think it greatly increases performance. It helps the front end climb up steep walls much easier. It helps with turning. It helps pull that nose around when you're trying to get around a corner. And it really just stabilizes the car. So I'm always a big fan of overdrive, and Axial has that option available now. So I would recommend picking up some overdrive, definitely. You've also got the brass front weights that you can get for this car, which I think is a great option. Ooh, this is a cool line. Hanging over on the left side, getting tippy. A little too tippy, unfortunately. But like I say, you can see how these cars are leaning and whatnot compared to the 24ths. I can just see the predictability of the line on this car much more. I can see that that car wanted to unload and roll over, which indeed it did, but I could have saved it with a reverse. I just did not, apparently, because I'm not a good driver today. So in my experience, the runtime on these 650 milliamp batteries is somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on your driving style. I've gone out and had a lot of fun with mine, and you can go out there for quite a while. I mean, 45 minutes per pack, you can easily carry multiple of those batteries just in your pocket if you want, and get out there for a couple hours and have a good time on the trail. But I really enjoy these cars, if you haven't been able to tell. Oh no, we ended up rolling. They are pretty tough. I've seen them out there on the rocks, and we've intentionally rolled them off some pretty big ledges, and they drive away. So thanks to their light weight and their small size, they are pretty resilient, and you can have a great time out there pushing the limits with these little 1/18 cars. Once again, thanks to Axial for sending this car out. I greatly appreciate it. It's awesome to get a early peek at these things and help share the content with my viewers. I appreciate all my viewers for tuning in, checking it out. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe while you're here. I would appreciate it. It'll help you find more future content on the new cars that come out in the RC crawling world. Here we are following a cool little ledge. Never actually been able to fit on this ledge all the way through before, so that's something new. Oh, Sydney just jumped right over me apparently. Way to go, dog. Looks like we're actually gonna have to get up on this ledge and side hill through here if I want to squeeze this car through. Just keeping that front tire on the ledge. Need to start bringing the front end back down. Oh no, we lost it and we went down to the bottom. Well, all right guys, I hope you enjoyed the first run with the Axial UTB-18 Capra. This thing has been awesome out here on the rocks. I've really enjoyed it. I really do like this car, and I like some of the features that it has, like that full-size low-profile servo, the 12mm hexes, the 155 wheels with the 3.85-inch tall tires. There's some really awesome things that Axial nailed on this. They've also got the upgrades available, which is a great feature. I'm going to leave links down below for this car. They are affiliate links. If you purchase anything through there, it helps support me here on the channel. I am going full-time on this, so any help is appreciated. Thanks so much for checking in, guys. I greatly appreciate your time. My name is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. We will see you in the next one. Keep the rubber side down.